Hi, everyone. Hope everyone had a good break. I'm Rhiannon Sullivan, Vice President of Strategy and Partnerships for Care2. It's great to see you all here. So I'm going to be talking about interactive content and engagement today. Very quickly, for those of you that don't know me or know Care2, super quick introduction. Care2 is a social action network platform. We have over 60 million individuals who are sort of part of the Care2 universe, taking action, signing petitions. And the main way that we work with many of you in this room already and with lots of charities is to help you recruit new supporters from our list and from our community. I'm not actually going to spend much time at all talking about that today, but if anyone wants to grab me afterwards, I'm here around all day, but we do work with you to sort of build these campaigns. Very quick example of a campaign. I've just put this one up here with Refuge because we've just started working with them recently. On the left here, you can see an example of a call to action that they'll run on our site. And onto the right, once you've signed that action, this is how we ask folks from the Care2 community to sign up to Refuge's email list. So that's kind of it on supporter recruitment for today. But I am around later if you want to talk to me about it. And really what I'm going to spend today talking about is our new sister platform and really what we've learned while we've been building this platform, which is called Care2 Cultivate. And so Care2 Cultivate has been designed to work hand in hand with our supporter recruitment platform. But really it's focusing on continuous engagement, retention, and obviously helping to kind of improve online donation rates. So what we're going to be looking at today is what we've learned while we've been building this, some of the core principles, the reason why we've done this and following those core principles. And then I'm going to share some case study results, one from a UK organisation and two from the US. So there's a lot to get through, so I'm going to just keep going. So as I've said, discovering how, and we're going to kind of, how this interactive content really does boost online conversion, looking at the research and then getting into case studies. So first, let's look at the why. Why are we doing this? So if we think about raising more money online, there really are three ways to raise more money. So we've got to increase the number of individual donors, we need to increase the frequency, and then we need to increase the average gift. So in terms of increasing the number of individual donors, obviously that's going to be all about recruitment and ways that you can do that. But focusing on the bottom two elements there, we need to be thinking, we're going to go back to retention. So this is nothing new to obviously anyone in this room, but we did a lot of work with our marketing colleagues and kind of learning from our marketing colleagues about the power of retention. So this quote here from HubSpot, studies have shown that acquiring a new customer is 5 to 25 times more expensive than retaining an existing customer. So moreover, increasing customer retention by a mere 5% could increase profits as much as 95%. So nothing particularly new here, but particularly these are the principles that we're kind of looking at in terms of the value of retention and what we can do. And unpacking that even more was looking at this. This is a very old rule developed, as you can see, in the 1930s, the golden rule of 7, which was by the movie industry when there was literally like TV, print, billboard, radio. And this rule of 7, a prospect needs to see or hear a message at least 7 times before taking some kind of action. So if that was developed in the 1930s, think about where we are today. And obviously it's completely crowded. Our news fields, our fields of vision, our news feeds, our fields of vision are so much more cluttered. So we're looking at a minimum of 7 times every day. So that's for someone to see or hear our message before considering taking action or converting as a prospect or purchasing an item. So won't come to any surprise here that a lot of this is going to be about engagement, but looking at particular engagement and interactive engagement and why that you're going to gain a lot more conversion using interactive engagement. So based on our own pilot data, when we launched Care2 Cultivate, when a prospect engaged 3 times with a cultivation, I'm going to get onto specifics of what that is, we would see that they are 3 times as likely to stay active and donate from these types of engagements. So I think everyone in this room knows what we mean when we say interactive engagement. We're talking surveys, contests, quizzes, games, calculators. And I think everyone here is probably running these yourselves. But it really is worth kind of looking at how you're using these. And I think the reusable value of these quizzes that you're doing as well and how they can be really repurposed. These examples from Fauna and Flora, Peter UK and Which, I think Peter and Which are definitely in the room. who are both clients on the Care2 Cultivate platform. These are examples of the quizzes that we're running. But one thing I wanted to share with you, which was a really interesting learning, was what sort of quizzes don't necessarily work on running this when you're trying to educate folks. So this Stanford study on confirmation bias, after being given research that contradicted their views, those who started out pro-capital punishment were now even more in favor of it, and those who'd opposed it were even more hostile. So this is essentially why when you're asking people to take a quiz, people don't like to change their minds even when they've been given facts. So people don't necessarily engage with challenging questions in quizzes, and they don't necessarily want to see content that they want to see content that they know and already aligns with what they believe, which I think was a really interesting tip, and we learned this really quickly on Care2 when we started running all of these quizzes. So here's a quick tip to make sure that you're using your interactive content to reinforce values. Don't try and teach something that they don't already believe. So just looking at the kind of effective engagement that we're running on Care2 Cultivate. So these would be poll surveys, education poll surveys, or opinion poll surveys. And then finally, before I get into the case study section, just to kind of share a bit back with you what our own content team is learning with using ChatGPT. So our content team is working with our clients. Obviously kind of goes without saying, always be fact-checking. But I really, really liked this learning that our team shared with us, is saying that to use ChatGPT was to talk to it like a team member, a very new team member who may require a lot of hand-holding and fact-checking. And so prompt and using these different kind of context textures and levels of detail. So instead of saying, write a petition about, you would say, I want you to act as an expert environmental activist and write a petition targeting MPs, so on and so forth. But the example on the right is how we worked with Greenpeace Canada to develop this content and this interactive content using ChatGPT. And I'm not going to read all of that out right now, but I think this is just an interesting insight to share how we're learning to use this platform as well. So I'm going to get into the case studies now. So we had a theory, as we've just discussed, knowing that charities do struggle with inactive supporters and lapsed donors, and interactive content is 2 times more likely to convert supporters. And looking at that marketing rule of 7, that marketing messages need to be repeated across channels. So we developed the platform, which is a series of engagement opportunities. So which is designed essentially using the charity's mission-focused content to target your whole house file on Care2 with our overlapping audience, tracking segments like donors, non-donors, actives, and inactives. And as I've shown you, there's some examples again with PTUK and Fauna and Flora. So here's some very early results from PTUK. Where are you? Is Chelsea in the room? Is she in here somewhere? I don't know, maybe she's not. But this is a pilot study that we've done, so this is very on a small basis. And so we've definitely got room to kind of expand, and these results just came in on Friday. So first of all, in terms of the numbers of what we've served, so we've been running from January to June, and we've served 42,000 engagements. So that's engagements being engagement opportunities, and have cultivated over 8,500 individuals. So we have an API with Engaging Networks and Care2, and that's pinging back there into the PTUK Engaging Networks API. And here we have lots of text on the screen. So I'm not going to run through that, but we have, just to kind of pull out some numbers, 7% conversion rate, total amount raised within 1 day of cultivation, £316, which looks particularly high, but from the team at Peter there, compared to their internal results, they've shared with me that the lapsed conversion rate of 5% was really high. So we've just had these numbers in as of Friday, so we're still analysing them, and we haven't tracked them back based on their cohorts yet, and so that work's still to do. But I wanted to share this data with you as soon as we had it, because it's very interesting. Just looking at the content they've been running, so they've been running 6 actions. And something else that we're doing as well as the quizzes is that we are asking for a donation ask after the survey as well. So we are doing a survey to donate. That's just sort of one part of the platform. So with that, here's the additional conversion results from just the Surveys Donate that we're running on Care2 itself. So you can read the numbers there. But that's not, we're not sort of prioritizing that. We're really kind of prioritizing the interactive content. So the next two case studies are from two US organizations, and it's definitely worth highlighting these are US organizations with much bigger lists that we're running in the US. So the numbers do look quite different, but have that in mind. So SPCA international results. So these are just their interaction results of the different quizzes that they're running here. And we can run up to 10 different engagement opportunities on the platform. But these are the sort of the numbers that are sort of attainable. So they have found after cultivation and running these interactive quizzes, 953 first-time donors, just under 350,000 donated after cultivation. And so these are pretty impressive numbers. But again, these are with bigger lists in the US. So it's just, again, worth highlighting that. But they're really tracking their cohorts. So there's some real learning here that the boost in donation rate after cultivation was extremely high with those inactive cohorts. So over 148% and 64% with actives here. So you can see the different inactive, non-cultivated, inactive, cultivated. And then they were measuring their engagement rates and follow-up emails, and they doubled after cultivation as well. So the principle here is obviously this kind of drip feed engagement, continuous engagement that's running alongside all other programs. And then the last case study from the African Wildlife Foundation, they have reactivated. So these are people that inactive emails, so people that have gone inactive on their site and then resubscribed and become reactivated, 114,000. And then you can read the stats there for yourselves. So, I mean, I think looking at the increase in active donations there of 105% is also speaking to that reactivation number. And then key takeaways for effective messaging, multiple marketing messages, obviously that interactive content, but beyond that interactive content, I really think we need to be looking at the power of continuous engagement and drip feeding that engagement alongside, so you're serving up all of these touch points alongside the interactive content and reinforcing those values and ideas rather than necessarily educating folks who don't want to learn what they already know. So there we go. Have we got any questions? I sped through that.
Hello?
Okay.
Everyone can hear me?
Okay. I've got my glasses on now so I can see people. I can't see straight there. There we go. It's better.
Okay, so our first question is from Louis Sherman. His question is, if people want to shift perspective for the survey's answers, yet to have opened the surveys, have shown an interest in the cause, how else can people be converted?
Sorry, can you say the question again?
So the question is, if people want to shift perspective for the survey's answers, how can the people be converted?
So just asking, so rather than, so reinforcing values by having statements that they may already agree with. So essentially, you can still have a survey or a poll, or just having a poll with two different statements that both say the same thing potentially, but you're still getting that interaction, if that makes sense.
Okay. We have a couple more questions.
Okay.
Just send a reminder. I'm sending a reminder to everyone. Put your questions in Slido. So how often do people who are already supporters of an organization participate in a Care2 list building quiz for that organization?
How many times?
Yes, how often?
So the way that it really depends on the organization's list size. So that's how it works. So we will sort of target your list size, and we will see the overlap with the Care2 list in what country we're running. So if that's in the US or the UK, and then we will serve that many engagements based on that segment. So there isn't a standard number, is the answer, because it's going to be dependent on your own list size and the overlap of Care2's list size with that specific charity.
What do you mean by cultivation, and what do you recommend to increase cultivation?
So cultivation is people who have taken an engagement, so such as have taken an interactive quiz, for example, those people are cultivated, so they're considered a cultivated user, but cultivation is all about engagement. So those people are taking action on the site.
Next question. Where do you see these quizzes? Are we emailing them, or is it on the Care2 platform?
Good question. It's on the Care2 platform. All of the examples I've shared are on the Care2 platform, and the algorithm serves after people have sort of taken other actions on the site. We won't necessarily email on those quizzes. No, it's fine, it's fine. We email out to our petitions and other actions that we have, but this is sort of built in the container, so it'll be served in the algorithm on the site itself. Yeah.
Okay, so was there a clear sense of what type of interactive content performed best overall?
Yeah, well, again, it's dependent on which organization we're running, because what will work for animals may be different for, say, for witch, for example. But we are seeing people who already know the answer. So content that aligns with people's belief already. That these are the highest performing actions, that people actually like to be reinforced or told that they're right. People like to know that they're right, which is really interesting.
So you just have one more question, and then
Sure.
you're free to go.
No, it's fine.
What's an example of cultivation journey?
So that's a really good question. So what we say to clients is, when you've been cultivated, to just continue the purpose of this is all about just, I think I've said it before, is continuous engagement. So it is to be run alongside your supporter journeys, your email journeys that you're doing. This isn't instead of, this is as well. And so once these people have been cultivated, you then go straight back into your journeys. You may be aware of what they're doing. You can certainly kind of be aware that these folks have been cultivated, so they can be in a more advanced journey as opposed to a welcome journey. But it's supposed to be just another touch point complementing your existing activity.
Okay. Oh, we have one more question.
Great.
How are users targeted into the Care2 platform?
So the charity will upload their list like they would do if you are a client of ours for standard acquisition. So you would fully hash and encrypt it securely, just to be clear about that. And then we will then make sure that the overlap that we have with our own members. So then that's when we can target people that we already have permission for that are Care2 users. So we will know the overlap. So we may have a 10% overlap, a 40% overlap, depending on what that is, and then we will then target based on those permissions. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get too technical on that. I'm around all day if you want more questions on the overlap.
Thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Thank you.